All right, I need each of you to go to Google Classroom, please, and open up something called Stoichiometry Worksheet number 2. Should be on Zoom meeting notes. I'll share my screen so we can look at that together. Okay, everybody have it open, okay? All right, so a couple things about the mole that we're talking about. The mole is the SI unit that we use for the amount of a chemical substance. So just like the meter or the gram or the second, the mole is just another unit that we use. Conversions, 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. That number is called Avogadro's number. And 1 mole is also equal to the GFM, or the gram formula mass of a substance. That's the number that we find from the periodic table. Okay, so let's look at these problems. So in 1 mole of any substance, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. So McKenna, how many atoms of iron would be in 1 mole of iron?
1.
Okay, so this sentence says, in 1 mole of anything, there are 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles.
So 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd.
Yes, so in 1 mole of iron, there would be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of iron. Okay, if we look at number 2, it says that 1 mole is also equal to the gram formula mass of a substance, right? So from the periodic table. So, Maylee, how many grams would be in 1 mole of iron? We would have to look at the periodic table, the atomic mass of iron. And just when you find that number, just to the 100th.
55.45.
55.45?
55.85.
Okay. Whoops. Why is it? Hey, Lexi, how many formula units in 1 mole of, and this is just sugar, how many formula units in 1 mole of sugar? So we can't say atoms of sugar because it's not, right? It's not an element. So we have to say formula units. So how many formula units should be in 1 mole of sugar?
3.
Okay, let's look up. Okay, 1 mole of anything has 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles. So 1 mole of sugar has how many formula units, which are particles of sugar? Lexi? It's kind of like asking, if I had a dozen eggs, how many eggs do I have? How many are in a dozen?
12.
Okay. If I had a dozen cookies, how many cookies do I have?
12.
Yeah. If I have 1 mole of anything, I have that many particles. So how many particles do I have in 1 mole of sugar?
6.02 times 10 to the 23rd.
Yes, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay, Maya, you get the hard one. Right, how many grams in 1 mole of sugar? So in this, you have to do what you had to do maybe on your worksheet. Right? You have to look at this formula and say, okay, I have 6 carbons, and each carbon has a mass of 12.01 grams. So I have to multiply those two numbers. And I have 12 hydrogens. And each hydrogen has a mass of 1.01 grams. And those numbers are just coming from the periodic table. And I have 6 oxygens. And oxygen has a mass of 16.00 grams. So we just have to break out the calculator, multiply, and add together.
Uh, 180.18.
Exactly. Hey, Muck, now we're not asking about a mole, just a single mole. We're asking for a little bit more than a single mole. All right, we're asking for 1.6 moles. So we already know, or should know, that in 1 mole, there would be 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. How many would be in 1.6? It's just a conversion, right? It's just take 1.6 and multiply it by Avogadro's number.
9. Wait, what's. Oh, yeah. 9.632.
Times 10. What's your exponent?
I'm muted. 23.
Okay. So that's just 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd times 1.6. Hey, Lexi, how many grams in 3.5 moles of magnesium? Well, again, it's just a conversion. We know that in one mole of magnesium, there's the gram formula mass of magnesium. So you have to look at your periodic table. And then wherever you find that number, you're just multiplying it by 3.5. I think magnesium is 22.99, but I don't have a table with me. Guess I could look it up. Or no, 12.01. No, that's correct.
It's 85.0675.
All right. What's the mass of one magnesium?
24.305.
So just that times 3.5.
No, I was saying like the 84.07 was everything multiplied together.
Okay, Maya. How many atoms of water in 1.6 moles of water? We know 1 mole of water would be its gram formula mass. 2 hydrogens times 1.01 plus 1 oxygen. 16. I add that up for the gram formula mass, and you get 18.02. Oh wait, sorry. You should have stopped me. It's asking atoms. So we'll actually need that. Here we don't need this. It's asking how many atoms. So 1 mole of is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So all you have to do is take that number and multiply it by 1.6.
Do I go to the nearest hundredth?
Yeah, just to the nearest hundredth.
9.63.
Times 10 to the 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, Maya, or Meili, you have to do this step. So we know 1 mole of water is 18.02 grams. How many grams would be in 3.5 moles of water?
63.07.
Okay, so just 18.02 times 3.5, 63.07. Well, that's all right. So due today, you're going to have a quiz on this that's on ClassKick. If you go back to Google Classroom, there's something called Stoichiometry Quiz number 1. There's a link for ClassKick. It has to be done today, but you can keep your worksheet open and solve it. So once you get to ClassKick,
Do you want us to turn that in?
when you do something on ClassKick, you don't actually have to turn it in. It just comes to me automatically.
No,
Oh yeah, meeting notes. Yeah. So when you look at this worksheet, it's different numbers, but same kind of calculations. All right. Okay, open up the stoichiometry worksheet that we had open last time. Intro to stoichiometry worksheet. Now, if you turned it in, I think I returned it to you. All you have to do for today was fill out number 2 and number 3. All right, we're going to look at number 4 today. Most of you had it done, and some of you actually turned it in with just 2 and 3 done. So I turned it back to you. Okay, any questions on how to do these? If you're trying to figure out the mass in grams of each of them, you'll have to take that number and multiply it by its gram formula mass. And again, gram formula mass is the mass of it from the periodic table. And you're going to do the same with all of these. So 24.5 moles of oxygen times its gram formula mass, which is 16.00. Right. This one, you'll have to go through the math and figure out the gram formula mass of that. So it looks like there's 3 calciums. Times the gram formula mass of calcium. Two potassiums and 8 oxygens. You have to add all that up and then multiply it by 1.25. And that's all you have to do for number 5. Now you're trying to figure out number of moles of each compound. So just remember that 1 mole of anything is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So it's going to be a 2-step problem. First, you have to change that to moles. Right? 1 mole of it's going to equal its gram formula mass. So you'd have to take the grams of this and divide by its gram formula mass. That would change it to moles, and then you have to multiply it by the 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. So those steps are going to be the same for each of those. Divide by the gram formula mass, multiply by Avogadro's number.
It only asks for the number of moles, not the atoms or particles.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, I guess you don't have to do that second step, do you? All you have to do is divide by its gram for the mass. Okay, on number 6, chlorine is used by textile manufacturers to bleach cloth. Excess chlorine is destroyed by its reaction with sodium thiosulfate. So how many moles of sodium thiosulfate are needed to react with 0.12 moles of chlorine? Well, if we look at the numbers here, the ratio is 4 chlorines to 1 mole of this. So if I have 0.12 moles of chlorine, all I'd have to do is divide it by 4. That's a 1/4 ratio. Here, how many moles of hydrochloric acid can form if I start with 0.12 moles of chlorine? Well, hydrochloric acid, there's 4 to 2, so it's double it. So you'd have to double that. Okay, so some of you have this done, so I'm not quite sure how to approach this. Hopefully you actually did it by actually doing it instead of just Google search the answer and pretend you know how to do it. So yeah, it's a problem with distance learning. Are you actually learning? Or are you just a good Google searcher? 5A, what's the answer for 5A? Anybody?
Is it 0.21?
One. Anybody else get that? It's made out of 1 calcium. What's the gram for the mass of calcium?
40.078.
Okay, 1 carbon.
28.01.
Carbon's not 28.
Oh, I actually I did CO. Oops. $12.01.
Okay, and 3 oxygens. Each oxygen is 16, so 3 times 16. Three times 16.
48.
Okay. So add up those 3 numbers to get the gram for the mass of calcium carbonate.
$100.09.
Okay. So we know that 100.09 grams would be equal to 1 mole of it. If I have 21.25, all you'd have to do is take that 21.25 and divide by 100.09. And yes, you should get, I believe, that number, 0.21. Let's see. Okay, open up the mole ratio POGL on Google Classroom. Okay, all that you needed to have done so far was just 1 and 2, I believe. So have the rest of this done by the end of the week. Make sure you reach out if there's any questions. Do you guys have any questions right now? Okay, I'm gonna stop share. Okay, let's see. Maya and McKenna, you're all caught up, so I'm gonna let you guys go, but reach out if you have any questions, okay? Maylee and Lexi, hold on for a sec.